Right, welcome back to another episode of How'd You Get Here? My special guest today is Donnell Bruce. He is the founder and CEO of FAMO Sports Management Company. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So I appreciate that. Listen, I want to get right into it. I want you to please tell the audience about your current role and responsibilities, and even talk about what is FAMO Sports.
So, FAMO Sports is a family organization. I started probably about 24 years ago. I started doing sports management, and it really came from my background in the business. Best friend got drafted in 1991, Dale Davis, and another good friend, Eldon Campbell, in 1990. And those two guys together played 32 years in the NBA. So after Dale's probably first 10 years in the league, me being around, kind of seeing how the business, understanding the business and seeing negotiations and different things going on in the business. I got a call from him in 2000, kind of urging me to potentially look into getting into the business. Prior to that, I was doing a record label with him. We were doing clothing business together. We started doing, in the late 90s, we were doing celebrity golf tournaments. So I was building my relationship with other NBA players and their teams and just different things. And so in 2000, kind of started out doing sports management. 2010, I specifically came up with the name FAMO Sports, which stands for a family organization. And here we
Okay.
are.
So, so that's interesting, right? So you run off a few entrepreneurial initiatives that you've had, right? And so what is it that's most rewarding aspect of running your own company, and then get into more specifically FAMO?
Well, just being able to help people. I say, I don't know if you saw at the bottom of my email response to you, it's a blessing to be a blessing.
Hmm.
That's why I really started FAMO, understanding the dynamics of, we all see the numbers 4 or 5 years after playing, guys don't have any money. So FAMO started with the original reason of FAMO was to be able to help families beyond basketball and to help families while they are playing the sport, be a part of their kids' contracts and be a part of their kids' marketing teams and management teams. I think it's unfair for people in my business to not to know a kid until he blows up at 15, 16, 17, 18, 20 years old. It's unfair for the family, the mom, the dad, whoever, the AAU coach, whoever's been in the kid's life, to get kind of pushed in a corner. And now all of a sudden you help him get to that particular space that where people wanted him and desired him and knew who he was. You get pushed in a space, and now these people become your new circle, and they get involved and do all these things, and the family that's been there the whole time, taking them to the AAU games, doing all the commitments and meeting all the commitments, making all the necessary risk and all the things that you do. You take kids to the games. I've known parents to take their last money to help them go to a tournament that got them seen, that got them a college scholarship offer, and the rest was history. So all those sacrifices you've made over the years, I believe that you should be rewarded um, along with the young man or the young woman, young lady. So that's kind of where FAMO came. And that's what I've been doing for the past 24 years, just helping families be involved that were already involved, keeping them involved, I should say, throughout the whole process and beyond.
It's interesting. You talked about helping, right? And I want to take it a different direction, right? Because I think let's define the help, right? Because the help could be understanding financial responsibilities. The help could be psychological stuff, emotional stuff, right? So how deep do you get into that help?
So to me, help is help, meaning assist, meaning forming a team. FAMO Sports is really just a team. That's why it's called a family organization. I give an example. One of the families that I work with is Trayvon Walker's family, right? So Trayvon Walker's mom and dad and I are his managers. Gigi Jackson, mom is his agent. Him, my dad, his dad and myself, we're the managers. Likewise with Trayvon Walker, that me and the dad, we're managers. The mom is pretty much his CFO. So you
Mm-hmm.
look at Lamar Jackson, you look at Kyrie Irving. Different ones have I guess, gotten away from the stigma that family is always a detriment to business. No, that's not true. There are some qualified family members that can help you,
And
just
I just
like
want
they helped you get to that point. They can help carry you on.
right. And you're providing you're helping with that guidance, which is awesome, right? You know,
Correct.
and I just want to clarify too for some people who may not know, who may not be on the planet Earth, Trayvon Walker, right, was the number one pick in NFL draft. What was that? 2 years ago, I think,
2022.
2022. And
2022.
then
Yep.
so congratulations on guiding that young man and his family. And Gigi had a phenomenal rookie year this past season in the NBA. And I believe he was the
Correct.
45th second round pick, right?
Yes. Yes.
And he did a great
Yes.
job making a name for himself, right? And betting on himself. But what I love is when you think about the betting on himself piece, he has a strong background with a family organization such as FAMO Sports behind it. So I just want to give you some flowers on that. So congratulations
Thank
on
you.
helping those
Thank you.
families, moving them forward. But what
Yeah.
I want to get
Thank
into
you.
though, it sounds like you're welcome, definitely. You're it's a demanding field that you're in, okay? And let's talk about balancing time and responsibilities, right? Because you're helping other families, but you have your own, right? So let's talk about balancing time and responsibilities that you have within your industry right now.
So I try to stick to this, but as a rule of thumb is God, family, and then FAMO Sports. That's the kind of been my life for the last 24 years. Um,
Hmm.
the balance is I have a 16-year-old that's an athlete. Um, he has one offer now he got from Western Kentucky, Christian Bruce. I just found we went to a
Time
camp
out, time out,
yesterday.
time out.
Okay.
See, we have to understand there's power in that first name. Let's understand that
Yes.
first, right? I got to stop you there. There's power in that first name. Go ahead.
Yes, yes, and it was done on purpose. It wasn't random. I
Yeah.
come from a Christian background, um, heavy in the church. That's why to all these successes that I have, I give God the glory. And we wanted to name our son Christian because we're praying that he will grow up to be a Christian, a man of faith, a man of God. But yeah, so he's now 6'2.5", 242 pounds. He's 16 years old. He's growing. Um, and so the balance is
Okay.
being able to give God time. I do a weekly noonday service every Tuesday from 12 to about 2 o'clock Bible study, where I teach lessons. I've been doing that now for about 8, 9 years. Um, so I
You're
do
doing that
that
online or
every
you're doing that
week.
local?
Do it online.
Is
We
that
were
local?
in the
That's
church,
online?
but
Okay.
it's online. We were in the church, but when COVID happened, and we've stayed online since COVID. Um,
Sure.
but I do that, so I try to get that in um, as much as I can. I try to go to church weekly. Um, but then you got family. When I'm not on the road, I'm at home. All my clubbing days and all those things, they are over. So I'm home with the family like I am today. My wife, for the most part, works from home, and so I get a chance. My mother lives here with me, um, and so we're here. I do the family stuff every day that I'm not on the road, and then you get to the business. I do the business, um, 24/7. It seems like because I try to always
Hmm.
be available for a young man or a young woman to call me to ask parental advice, sports advice. I love it when they ask me godly advice and things that pertain to maturing and how they're trying to be a better person and a better husband and a better boyfriend. I love that type of advice. But I'm Christian. I try to stay around for all those things.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, so I want to backtrack a step here and just, you know, talk about the journey that you've been on. Um, you know, you played at basketball at Clemson University, right? And talk to people, let them know. Give them a sense of the level of play in the ACC in the late '80s, early '90s.
Whew. We talk a lot. Sometimes I get on the phone with Dale, and I was in LA about a month ago with Eldon. Got a chance to spend some time with him, Eldon Campbell and Dale
Okay.
Davis. Um, and sometimes we'll get on the phone, man, and we'll just talk. We have a Clemson group. We'll just talk about the players that was in the ACC when I came up. You talking about Chris Corgiani and Rodney Monroe, and North Carolina had J.R. Reed and Rick Fox and Hubert Davis. And you're talking about Wake Forest had, God bless the dead, Rodney Rogers
Hmm.
and different ones. I mean, the ACC, I think the ACC was at its highest level in those 90s, late 80s,
I
early
agree.
90s. You talking about
I
Len
agree.
Bias. Um,
Yep.
you talking
He's
about
my
the
Walker
Duke
Wizard.
crew. Yes, which was a problem. You talking about
Absolutely.
Duke crew, you talking about Christian Layton, and Danny Ferry and Hurley and those guys. So Grant Hill. So I think
Kenny Anderson.
basketball was, yeah, oh my goodness. Hey, yeah, thank you. Kenny Anderson. Um, um, a friend of mine to this day, Dennis Scott, um,
Hmm.
Brian Oliver, a really good friend of mine, James Forrest, who we talk several times
Yeah.
a month, who's now works for Georgia Tech. Yeah,
Hmm.
it was beautiful basketball. It was a great combination of physicality, but speed and athleticism.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely. So during your time on campus, um, you experienced some highs and lows. Fair to say,
Right.
right? And I'm talking
Yes.
about, you guys won the regular ACC title as a team, right? And then you lost on a bogus shot in the Sweet 16, by Tate George. So
Correct.
my first experience with feeling hurt as a Clemson Tiger was I was graduating that spring, and I was coming to Clemson in the fall, and I'm watching that game. And I think I remember seeing Cash like this with his hands on his head, right? So that was my first hurt as a Tiger. And then for you, and on the personal side of the game, you know, you got a lot of activity, a lot of action when you get there. From the team winning,
Yes.
titles to getting beat, and then your time on the court. Again, the highs of coming in, highly touted, and playing on the floor, and then time diminishing, right, and then time increasing again. So the ups and downs of the playing time on the court
Whew.
um, plays with you, right? So, and I want you to, Ken, and I'll say, talk about how those experiences shaped your thoughts on your perspectives on sports, on teamwork, and discipline.
Beautiful question, man. I think it's formed me to be who I am in sports. As you said, I came in salutatorian, had probably 50 plus offers. Um, Chose Clemson. Clemson wasn't even in my top 20. My mom kind of helped me made the choice. Chose Clemson. Came in, played a lot as a freshman. Broke my hand in a game where I had a really good game against Duke. Set out for 6 weeks, and that started the up and down. When I set out those 6 weeks, the next year we brought in a bunch of wings, and now I'm splitting time, and I'm getting the downside of that time for my sophomore, my junior year. Didn't really start back playing again to my senior year, but what it taught me was to be able to tell these young men that life is about ups and downs.
Right.
It's as they say, you get lemons, and what are you going to do with them? Well, you can make lemonade out of, or you can just complain because you got lemons. And so I was very blessed to have some, good friends in college. Dale Davis and Eldon Campbell went on to the NBA, and I didn't even pursue a path of basketball after college because, to be honest, I kind of lost the desire and the love for basketball during that experience. But what I did not lose was who I was in a core, a person that had a college degree. I graduated in 4 years. Um, I was able to navigate through school and learn that there were other options outside of basketball. And so again, immediately after college, Dale and I connected. We were always friends through the college era, and we connected, and I started doing business. But what it gave me the ability is now when I run into young men and they thinking about hitting the transfer portal, or they have to hit the transfer portal, or they're playing in the NFL or NBA, and it's not going the way it wants to go. I can literally talk to them about highs and lows of sports, and how you can
Hmm.
take a high and be humble with it and ride it out, or you can take a low and still be grateful for the opportunity and focus on. And I like to tell young men, that I can do all things through Christ. You're here for a reason. Let's focus on not what's going wrong. Let's focus on what can become something that can be a testimony, something that can become a better situation. Let's focus on how we got here, what it's going to take to help us elevate to get out of this. Sometimes these are coach issues, sometimes they're personal issues, but whatever it is, we're not going to let it defeat us. And I love to tell kids, look at my background. I was high, I was a top kid, and look at what happened in 2 years, and look at where I'm at now. And I give God all the glory. And I'm a living witness that it's not about how you start. It's not even how you are in between. It's how you are finishing and how you're progressing.
It's a beautiful answer. Beautiful answer. So then, I mean, I want to transition then to entrepreneurship, right? Because you touched on, you started some things with Dale Davis, and so let's talk about when you launched FAMO Sports in particular. What were some of the challenges that you faced? You'd already been in the entrepreneurial space, and you launched some things, right? You said your record label. I think you had clothing line. I do remember that record label too. Um, but the clothing line, and then you get into this sports space, which is a different animal, right? It's a
Yes.
completely different money. Now you're talking about large sums of money. If you can talk about the challenges, initial challenges you faced when you launched FAMO Sports.
Okay. So let's start with the fact that I'm a black man, right? And you're dealing with large sums of money. Now, unfortunately, I have to say that, but you're dealing with large sums of money, athletes getting money that predominantly for football and basketball are black. One of the things, and I talk to my friends about this pretty often, some of my guys on my team, one of the hardest things I had to overcome was getting black families and black men to trust a black man,
Hmm,
believe it or not, because
hmm,
it's put in our mind that sometimes if it's white, it's right. And if it's black, then you probably should be cautious. Because maybe they're not as educated. Maybe they don't have the same connects. Maybe they don't have the same humility, or maybe they don't have the same moral values. But we look the same. We came from some of the same places. So one of my first challenges were being able to sit down with families and tell them I'm no different than you are, right? I love my dad to death, but for a length of my life, it was me and my mom and my siblings. And so I came from a single family background for the majority of my life. So when I see a mother out here, I'm able to, and a son, I'm able to talk to you because I came up in that same situation, same environment. I
right,
give you this. When you look at Trayvon, I was very blessed, and glory to God, the first minority firm to ever have the number one pick in the NFL. The NFL been around for 100 plus years. You know how
wow,
many black folks have went number one in the NFL? A lot of them, but they wasn't represented by us.
mm,
Why is that? And so I had to overcome, and I'm still overcoming that, because a large share of athletes aren't represented by guys that look like us. Um, Now I don't have a problem with you going with the best person for you, but can't sometime can we have equal opportunity to be that person? And so I'm very thankful for Trayvon, which told me back in 2021, one of his wants, he said he wanted a black agent. Um, and so he said he didn't want to go to a large firm. You're talking about a kid that went number one. He had a draft party of 100 and something family members and friends here in Atlanta. He didn't want to go out to Las Vegas. And so
mhm,
I've been very blessed to get a G.G. Jackson, a Trayvon Walker, people that understand where they come from, people that have a relationship with the Almighty, but they're close to their family and they wanted their family to be a part of moving forward. not just I'm gonna sit you in a corner. So it's overcoming that, Christian. The part that I'm gonna buy mama a house and stick her in the corner, but she can't do anything else moving forward with my business. Dad, you cool, you never played in the NBA and NFL, so you just, let me no, and so it's overcoming that, and that was pretty difficult, and I'm still fighting some
Mhm.
of those challenges. But thank God I've been out here long enough to kind of, you know, be able to. People can see that I was able to do it, and a lot of times in the Black community, we have to see it. But the unfortunate thing about it is some of these people can show you resumes of what they did for others. That don't mean that they're going to do a good job with you because you're not that other person. And
Yeah.
so it's just a lot. There've been a lot of challenges, but thank God, the power of God, I've been able to overcome.
And I say this a lot. It goes back to I read this book, the phenomenal book, Start with Why, and I talk about it constantly. People resonate with the things that are true to them, right? And you have some people that are you resonated with them, right? And it's a big thing, right? And that's why they're probably happy, right? With the decisions that they made running with you. So again, congratulations on that, and continue being who you are, because that's the best thing you can be, right?
Yes.
Running a sports management business, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of, you said it's 24/7 activity, and it's part of the three things, right? God, family, famo, right? So from the famo perspective, let people understand what the daily routine could look like for you.
Okay, so I get up in the morning. I try to, when I get up in the morning, I try to tell God, thank you for another day. Being 55 years old, double nickels. I try to tell God,
Oh,
thank you.
Nichols.
Um, I, yes, double nickels. I try to, I do that initially, and then I'll look at my phone. My phones are in my bed. So I'll look at my phones and see if anything happened throughout the night. Breaking news, client call, whatever, right? I do that. I generally have a list of things I try to do the next day, whether it's call a particular client or reach out, whatever it is. And I do that. From that point, um, I try to connect with family members. If they're home, hey daughter, hi son, hey wife, hey mom. Um, and then I get into it, man. I look, for instance, today was Friday. I got a Zoom call with my man Christian. So this is something that's on my agenda. So I go over my agenda. I get up, tell God thank you for another day. Um, and I get into it. Sometimes I have things set up. Sometimes I'm just kind of calling to try to buffer relationships with potential clients. Sometimes I'm talking to different people in the NIL space, maybe a college coach, maybe a card company, telling them about uh, prospects that I have or current clients that I have with them. So it's just filled with, the day is filled, man. And before you know it, it's 6 or 7 o'clock. I'm ready to kind of slow it down and look at a television show with the wife or the kids and start this thing, go to bed and start this thing again the next day.
That is tough because as I'm listening to you speak, you know, in my corporate time, I was in the customer success arena, right? I'll say it that way, and managing teams of that, and you're doing that, right? When you're talking about you get up and the first thing you're doing is you're making sure everybody's good, right? Making sure you're taking care of quote unquote your product, right? I'll say it that way. But so that's a beautiful thing. Um, so let's get into strategies, right, and practices. And you talked about some things you had to initially overcome and still are dealing with. But what strategies, practices do you use to keep the momentum going, right? Because you've been doing this for 20 some years, and man, I think the last 2 years, I mean, rising to the level of being of representing people at such a high level as you are right now. What strategies do you ensure that your companies continues to grow?
Well, I think one of the things I try to do um, is find out when I'm talking to a prospect, and as a rule of thumb, I don't really want to talk to a 16 to 20 whatever year old young man or woman. I want to find out who he or she's parents are, right? This is one of the things I do. I practice that because there's too much of sometimes these older men talking to these young men, taking them off the path. And I'm not calling and talking about specifics. I'm just talking about as a rule of thumb. So that's the first
Mm-hmm.
thing I want to do. I want to know who your mom and who your dad is, or who your uncle is, and who are the decision makers in your life. I want to build a relationship with them because I'm thinking and believing that they have your best interest and they have the ability to discern as an adult other adults. And because I am who I present myself to be, I ask people in our first conversations before they get off the phone, I want you to pray about me because I'm going to pray about you that this union that we're potentially forming is meant to happen. It's good for you and it's good for me. It's a blessing to be a blessing. But I think one of my most strategic things I do is what I founded my company on. It's putting families or coaches, whoever that's important to the young man, into the contracts, meaning literally as they get paid, you get paid. And that's through a managerial standpoint. Like if I'm going to be the manager, then I want the mom to be the manager as well. We're going to eat off the same plate, so to speak. Yeah, I may be doing 90% of the work, but it's your son, right? Dad, I may be doing 99% of the work, but God bless you to have that son, not me. So it's your bloodlines in him. So you don't have to do anything but be a part of what you've already been a part, which is being blessed by God to have this young man. And I'm sure over the process, you probably trained them. You probably paid for training. You did a lot of things to help him get to this point. Now I'm blessed to be able to help move this thing down the road. So I think you should share in the benefits. And so that's a part that I do that most people out here not doing.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? My wheels are spinning just hearing you talk about that. Because you just mentioned you have a conversation with the adult minds and that are around the young folks. And I have to imagine though, during those conversations, you're also interviewing them, right? Because you have to assess if you're going to keep the family aspect and you're going to have these people get engaged with the professional side of what this young man or woman is going to get into, which is a whirlwind for them, right? You have to be assessing at the same time who you're going to be working with, right? And so, how does that affect you as you're having this dialogue with these folks?
I mean, great question. I like to deal with, as I tell the young fellas, I like to deal with facts and real life things.
Yeah.
Let's go to to last year. Gigi Jackson. His dad is a bishop in the church. Mom's a first lady. Mom's a mechanical engineer, right? So I challenged her June before his first year at South Carolina. Hey, why don't you become an agent? You're smart. You telling me how you can take tests and you do this or that. Why don't you? And so you're right. I interviewed, got to know her, know that she was a very strong person, cancer survivor, mechanical engineer. Why don't you try to be your son's agent? Dad, you in the church. Let's be the manager. You preach in front of congregations every week, several times a week. That's challenging. Let's go out here and try to become his managers. Trayvon Walker, dad, police officer, ex-Marine, mom, in this education school system. Let me challenge you to be a manager and CFO of his business. Because I know that the most important thing you can give a kid or a client is yourself, God, yourself, and trust, right? And so who can give that more than family, right? And so I sit and identify who that I'm talking to in that family, mom, dad, or whoever, who can take this walk with me. Because some parents just want to be parents. That's okay too.
Right.
But who can take this walk with me? Because you know your kid better than I'm going to ever know your kid, probably, or should. Who can take this walk with me and we go together to best market and manage your son? So yes, I do in that process. I want to see the ones that's eager to do it. I got a couple kids I'm talking to now in college. I'm definitely trying to persuade their parents, come on, let's walk into this business together. Because I've been in it now. Dale got drafted in 91. Eldon got drafted in 90. So I go to Dale in 91. That's 33 years I've been around the NBA business. I can help
Hmm.
you grow in this business. You already got some of the attributes. Let me help you take it to the next level in this business.
I mean, you're talking about something that's a theme of all my guests so far, and something I love that I talk about all the time. Skills translate across different sectors. Right? I believe your take is different from anyone else that I've ever been around, right? And but there's some similarities too, right? Because you have to operate on the same playing field. So what's crucial, you think, for anyone who may be interested in getting into the sports management industry?
Well, I think you better be prepared for ups and downs. You better be prepared for spending years sometimes with potential clients and them at the last minute going someplace else. Um,
Mm,
you need tough skin. Um, but see, my faith is in God and not in man. And so even in those lows, I thank God I can still always say, you know what? Romans 8:28, one of my favorite verses is, I can do all things through Christ that strengthened me, is Philippians 4:13, but rolls into Romans 8:28, same background. For we know that all things work together for good for those who love the Lord, for those who are called according to his purpose. See that work for good. You have to
mm,
have a mind frame that it's going to work for good. If you trust that God put you into this business, he can bless you in this business. And so what I tell young men that I'm talking to now that's eager to get into the business, okay, understand that this is not, you see the glory. You see me with Trayvon Walker and you see me jumping up and I'm thanking God and because he went number one, and you see the G.G. Jackson, and you see, if you look at my website, you see Andrew Bynum and Trevor Reed, you see different ones that I've had success with. But what you did not see is all the failures I've had, and I call them failures slash lessons. When I've helped families, I've educated families, I've done some of the same things I've done with the families that I've been had success with, and they've because it's their choice, they viewed off and went different ways. But you live with that, and I pray success to them. You know, that's their kid, that's their child, that's their, that's your choice. But you learn those lessons, and you have to have tough skin, because if you gonna quit after one loss, this is not the business to be in.
hmm You said NIL earlier in our conversation, and I want to come back to that, to those three letters, right? If I say NIL, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Giving kids what they deserve and should have been getting a long time ago.
Mm, mm. So now, how has that changed? How has that impacted now your conversations from pre NIL to what we have going on now?
Well, I won't name any, but I'm dealing with some kids as young as 15. So I guess their class is 2027, some 2028s, and
Yeah.
and agents now are going out signing those kids. I think
Mm,
now some of them are doing it so they can build a relationship over a couple of years, um, and kind of screen everybody else off. And then when the kid does turn for professional, they can represent the kid. That's what a lot of agencies are doing. So now I got to go to kids at a younger age, because they'll come with these de facto NIL deals and sign kids up, and may give them some merchandising, but now they're in the kid's ear, in his ear gate for 4 years. And so I've had to now look at younger kids. But it's also, what it's done for me is caused me to be kind of more on my game and to go back to younger ages, because my competition is going out trying to get younger ages. With saying that, most kids like most kids not gonna get NIL deals in high school. A very select few, right?
right.
You see the ones on social media that gets it, but you're talking about maybe 20 kids out of tens of thousands. let's go to professional. How many people you see got national commercials in the NBA and NFL? I bet you if you put both leagues together, it's not 30 people. But
Right.
people sell these marketing dreams because you're dealing with families that are eager for success. So I call, and I'm not being negative, but I have a saying that I've been saying to a lot of parents over the years, and sometimes we joke about it. Donnell, we're not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. A lot of these companies give what I call the banana in the tailpipe. Yeah, the car is running, and yeah, you think you're ready to pull off or you're warming up, but because they put the banana in the tailpipe, that's gonna equal something bad down the line for you. Exhaust, fumes, and all this other stuff that happens. It may look regular, it may look good, it may look like but at the end of it, it's going to be damaging. And so I think what happens is a lot of times in this business, because the NIL has been here now for 3 years, you got people going out trying to get these kids early so they can keep them late. You have also the collectives, and you're getting guys saying, "Oh, we can create this value for you that's different than what you're gonna get as a 4 and a 5 star. We can up that ante," and now they're charging the kids 10 and 20% to do that. Let's just say an example, right? You become a kid's NIL agent. Kid's gonna get $1 million. He was gonna get 950,000, but maybe you came in and increased 50,000. If you're charging the
Mhm.
kid 20% of that
Right.
million, you're taking 200,000 away, but you brought only $50,000 worth of value. That's a
Right.
negative 150,000. And so my saying is make it make sense.
Here's the thing. You're not an agent though, correct?
Nope, just a
So
manager.
just a manager. And I think it's important that people know that there's levels to this thing, right? And there's different avenues to this thing. And so it sounds to me though you are influential into who will be an agent or may not be an agent, right? Because your take on it is, mom and dad, why don't you go ahead and do that? So let's talk through that then. What steps for people who you identify as should be an agent? What steps do they need to take to become an agent?
Well, it's funny. Great question again. Um, it's out there. It's on social. It's out there. It's in the internet world. Steps
Hmm.
to become an agent. You take the NFL or the NBA test. You have certain requirements that's different for the NFL versus NBA, but for the most part, you pay the money. They screen your background. You study. You take the test. You pass or you fail. Trey Young
Right.
dad just became an agent about 2 or 3 months ago. He's one that I talked to a lot over the last 4 or 5 years. When Trey Young was at the McDonald's All American, I started a relationship with his dad. Um, and Rayford Young, we remain to be friends to this day. He's now an agent. Um, he was one that I felt like should become an agent. He very poised, smart, and his son is gonna make, and I should say sons, as I said initially. He has another son, Timothy, that's gonna be a really good player. He's already a good young player. You
Hmm.
talking about hundreds of millions of dollars your son's gonna make. You taught them basketball. You played basketball at a high level. You fit the criteria to become an agent. Now, it takes more than just that. You need to understand business. You need to understand negotiating. But these are traits that I can see and characteristics from beginning to know a person that I can see whether they got them or not. But here's the other part. I've done every step I've done in the game since I've been in for 24 years. I've seen and done most of the things, not most of, pretty much all of the things that agents have done. I've been in on negotiating
Hmm.
contracts. I've talked to collectives about people in the transfer portal. I've done card deals and sneaker deals and stuff from a management standpoint. The agent has a place, but in my thought, their place is not above the family and the young man, which is a part of his own family. And there's a place for that. And so what I like to do is be able to work with an agent. Now, whether that agent's under FAMO or whether that's a young man's mother or father or AAU coach, whoever that happens to be, I'd like to work in cohesion with that particular person, and we then go together to promote the business of the young man or young woman.
Not good stuff. And so, you know, we see more of this, over time. You mentioned some great examples as far as family representation, right? But what other things do you see in the evolution of the sports management space, right? And down the line, do you have any other things that you think you see really picking up steam, or things you'd like to see more of as this space evolves even further?
Yes, as we continue to educate ourselves and educate each other, that's what I'm out here doing. I'm trying to educate parents on that. Maybe you don't choose FAMO. Maybe you start your own management company. But I'm just trying to give as much information as I can because, again, I believe it's a blessing to be a blessing. And so as we continue to educate ourselves or be educated by ones that's been out here like myself, then we'll
Mhm.
be able to build generational wealth. Because if you're keeping things in house and giving less out, because here's what, Christian, here's what we're never going to be able to get past, at least probably in our lifetime, having to pay taxes. So you're going to pay 40, the upwards of
I mean, yes.
40%, no matter where you at and what athlete you are, what profession that I know, right? So let's educate families on getting LLCs and putting them with the right financial people as a manager, and let them be educated on how to manage and watch people manage your son or daughter's money, and let's continue to educate them on taking tests so that you can become a manager or an agent of your son or your daughter. Because I believe as we continue to empower each other, then we're empowering a community. And if we're empowering a community, then we are empowering a generation. And that's kind of what my steps are. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I give information unsolicitedly sometimes. And it's not sometimes that I give information or I only give information to clients. I give information to people that I talk to and I come encounter with.
Mhm.
And they take that information and do with it what they may. I've seen people that I've given information and they went out and did it on their own. I'm okay with that. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? To each his own.
Yeah, but so at the end of the day, underlying your approach is care, right? It's very evident that underlying your approach is care. And so I want to ask though this question. You're giving us insight, and let's take the agent route. You're encouraging people to become agents, and you mentioned starting their own LLC and things of that nature. Do you also have it under the FAMO Sports moniker, where if they don't want to start their own, can they be an agent under FAMO?
For qualified people that fit the criteria, yes. And that depends on several different things. Like, I just give you one.
Hmm.
I would like for us to have the same beliefs. Um, it is my company. I started, I founded it. So if you're going to be under the roof and we're going to work together on the day to day, I would think that we have some of the same ideals. We come from the same um maybe not necessarily backgrounds, but we have the same fundamental belief. We have the same moral compass,
Right.
ethics, and those type things.
Didn't you have another Prism? Was that Prism? Was that also a sports business you had back in the days?
Yeah, that
Did that morph into
it
FAMO,
trans.
or is that in conjunction with
Yes,
FAMO?
no, it morphed into FAMO. Um,
It morphed into FAMO
Prism
because I
at
remember Prism.
yep, Prism
So
Sports.
I go back
So
with you, right? I go back with you.
yeah, my God, my God. So Prism Sports was when I first got it. It was my first year. It was in the '90s. Um,
Hmm.
I I had started doing sports, not sports. I started doing celebrity golf tournaments with Dale. Um,
Okay.
inviting the likes of Shaquille O'Neal and different ones, Gary Payton's and different ones out. We were going to the Bahamas. We were going to Nassau, Bahamas. We were going to trips to San Juan, Puerto Rico, and we were having golf tournaments, right? And so Prism was formed. Then I started a website called hoopchat.com with one of my business partners, and that was under Prism Sports, and we started at that point signing up athletes, and we we was taking their name, image, and likeness and trying to create value for
Hmm.
them to be able to sell through the website. This was in the late 90s. And so that, like you said, that kind of went into FAMO Sports in 2000. So yeah.
So let's have Del Nickel, Donnell Bruce,
Yes.
talk to 25-year-old Donnell Bruce. What's going to tell him?
Uh Stay grounded, stay humble, understand that life is full of ups and downs. But if you anchor yourself in your faith, which is in God, that you'll be able to take the test and turn them into testimonies. You'll take the ups and be able to one day do like me. I said, God, I thank you for the ups, the downs, the rough, the tough, um, the good, the bad, because I know at the end you have my back. You have my front, my back, you have all around me. And that's what I would tell the person that went to college thinking that I was going to be an NBA player. But after about a year and a half in college, I'm like, man, what's going on? I should transfer. That's what I would tell that young man.
Do you think in today's times, I'm going to stay on this transfer piece with you, right? Do you think if you were in today's times, would that transfer decision have changed?
Yes, I'm sure I would have probably transferred probably my sophomore or no at worst case scenario my junior year. But it goes back to Romans 8:28, for all things work together for good. Because I stayed there with two guys that played 32 years in the NBA, and look at what I'm doing now. So what
Absolutely.
God did was, okay, the basketball thing didn't work out in terms of being an NBA player, which a lot of people thought I had the potential to be, but it worked out to where you're actually servicing and working with NBA and NFL players. So it worked for my good.
And you get to keep your knees too, right? That was the other part about going in the
Yes,
direction you went. You kept your knees.
yes. I kept my knees, and I still can move around. Thank God, I can still move
Yeah,
around as swift as not as I used to, but kind of as I need to.
yeah. I'm not gonna throw anybody in the bus, but probably better than Dale can move, I would think, because of him doing all that time with
Hey, I
me,
don't
right?
know, Richard. I tell you this. I met with Shaq. I sat down with Shaq end of February. Um, and he was telling me that he saw Dale a couple times and how good Dale had looked, and he looked like he still could play. So I might not use Dale. Dale looks like he could go out and probably give somebody 10 or 12 minutes in the NBA still.
Man, man. Hey, before we get out of here, first off, man, thank you for jumping on this call. I think our audience is going to have a lot of insight that's going to help drive them to do whatever they want to do. But I want to give you an opportunity to let people know, how they can get engaged, get in touch with FAMO Sports.
So on my website is famosports.com. Uh, you can go there, and if you scroll down and look at the history of FAMO, you can scroll down and send me a direct message. It'll come straight to my email. Um, I'm on Facebook as Donnell Bruce, my name. I'm Facebook as FAMO Sports, and I'm at FAMO underscore sports on Instagram, and on Twitter, I'm FAMO Sports. So you can pretty much go famosports.com, find me in different platforms. You can find me under FAMO Sports. It's just me and a company that I'm trying to and in the process of expanding, because I want to be able to talk to more families. I want to be able to give more families what I've gotten over 20 something years, that even if they don't come with FAMO Sports, maybe they'll start their own company, but just empowering people that look like us.